What is up, world? I am Cole from JCP End Zone Perspective, coming at you live at 5:35. And if I look around, it shows that college football is near. We are in week 3, by the way. It's already flown. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm with my two co-hosts. First, of course, the man, the myth, the legend. And on the other side of me, I got.
Me.
You just goes me.
my voice is pretty dead at the moment. So
Yes, Jacob has a. Uh, what is it again? Sore throat?
pretty bad sore throat. So
Yeah. So if he's a little shorter winded, give the guy some leeway. Not his fault. It happens to the best of us. So, but don't worry, Chooch and I, we're gonna carry this show. So get on the train with us. Let's kick it off with the fun one here as the Navy midshipmen take on the Tigers from Memphis. Memphis is a 14-point favorite. This is a 6:30 kickoff on Thursday, and let's just say not a lot of excitement in the Navy side of things. They lost to Notre Dame week 1, and let's just say they lost pretty embarrassingly, 42-3. Not a lot to be happy about. But then they had a pretty nice bounce back against Wagner. They beat them 24-0, and this offense actually looked somewhat alive. But give a huge credit to the defense, obviously giving up 0 points. On the Memphis side of things, they played two cupcakes and they beat them how they should. In the two games, they gave up a total of 17 points. And, that's pretty good for 8 quarters of football. Chooch, I know this one's a little close to your heart. Where are you going with this game?
I'm going to take Memphis here. As much as I want to take Navy, I don't think the offense is quite there yet. I think they got a little bit to figure out. And honestly, Memphis's defense looks a lot better. But like you said, who have they played? No one. Where Navy's played Notre Dame and Wagner. But yeah, I think listen, Memphis always has good quarterbacks, guys that can air it out. Hennigan is no different. So Memphis, well, I think they covered the spread too.
Ooh, they covered the 14.
Yep.
What about you, Jake?
yeah, I'm gonna go with the favorites on this one. I'm gonna go with you said a 14-point favorite, right?
That's correct.
14-point favorite. I'm gonna agree with that. I agree with Chooch. Also, I think the defense stepped up a lot for this team in comparison from last year. So yeah, going with Memphis.
All right. So in this game, I think this is your typical Navy game in the early weeks. They're going to come out, they're going to be, in a rhythm early, but my question is how well does Memphis weather the storm of Navy? Because Navy, they'll get under center, they'll punch in the mouth a bit, and even now they're starting to air it out a little bit more. Let's just say times are looking a little bit different for this Navy team, but I think Memphis does a good job. They make some adjustments and they win this one pretty soundly. And I agree with Chooch. I think they cover the spread, and the way they do it, I really think it's that running attack of Memphis that just doesn't get enough credit. I really am a big believer in the run game. And Blake Watson, I really like what he's done there. He's their lead rusher. He's got over 100 yards already and 3 touchdowns. So Tigers in a big win. All right, next one here. Virginia going on the road to take on Maryland. Let's just say it's been a awful start for Virginia. They start against Tennessee. They get absolutely destroyed by Tennessee. They have a commanding lead against James Madison, and they blow it. The Dukes came back and really put a dagger in the heart of Virginia last week. And as for Maryland, they haven't really played anybody, but they have won closer than some people would like to say against no-name teams. But the bottom line is a win is a win. A lot of people say Maryland's got this one. It's not really going to be much of a contest, but Chooch, maybe you have an upset alert there for the Cavs?
Yeah, bringing back an old rivalry from the ACC days. Hold on a second. Sorry. So if you're following along in ESPN here and you're going over box score, I want you to look at the GameCast and I want you to look at the team stats. Now, I want you to look at Virginia's defensive yards allowed and Maryland's offensive total yards. That's where I'm going with this one. Maryland wins this one. I don't think it's as close as people want it to. I still think Virginia's still dealing with some stuff mentally and emotionally still, but I think they're playing better. At the end of that Dukes game, they really showed up. They really started to show up more. So, but yeah, I'm taking Maryland.
All right, Terps.
Also, be taking Maryland with this one. I think the games that UVA played, where they lost, especially that big lead that you said last week, I believe. I think that's sort of discouraging that team. And when your team is being dragged through the mud, there's only about two options. You can either show out and then show what you got, or you can just go on that negative path the rest of the season. And I don't think they're going to show out for this one. Give me the Terps.
All right, going with Maryland. Man, that was a pretty good analysis too. I love that. I was kind of thinking along the lines a little bit. I'm not gonna say he stole everything, but he stole a good amount. So quit looking at my notes again. I'm gonna go with Maryland in this game too, just because I want to see the heart and soul of Virginia and see what they're made out of. And I really don't believe, you couldn't beat James Madison. No disrespect to James Madison, but Maryland is a way better football team than James Madison. So I think Maryland has this one in the bag, and I think Tagovailoa is going to have a tremendous week this week, airing it out against that Virginia defense.
Indeed.
All right, on to the next one here. The Army Black Knights go on the road to UTSA to take on the Roadrunners. This is a 6 o'clock kickoff if you're, watching in the Central Time Zone, aka the best time zone. Don't at me, Eastern and others.
Eastern will come after you.
They got a huge mob already. UTSA is an 8.5 point favorite at home. And let's just say Army, not exactly what we were expecting this start of the season with that loss to UL Monroe. But then they rebounded and they looked good in their Week 2 game against Delaware State. They won 57-0. And UTSA, they've just been in some dogfights. They fought Houston Week 1 and just a heartbreaker. They did a lot of great things, and then it just was not enough. And then they played Texas State last week, who was the same team who upset Baylor in Week 1, and they were able to just pull it out. They almost had 2 losses in a row to start the season, which hasn't happened in a while for these guys. So that would have been a rough path, but they ultimately stood together and ended up finding a way to defeat Texas State. Chooch, I know you follow these two teams relatively more than most people. Where are you going with this one?
Listen, Army. Look at Army's passing stats. 172.5 a game so far. What? Maybe they learned a little bit something from Air Force there and said, "Hey, we can run the ball. Let's pass it now." Also, I just think UTSA's offense and their ability to win games that are close is the reason why this team comes out with this one. Listen, Army's defense is going to make you fight. We know that. They're physical. We know that. But UTSA just finds a way to win these games. So I'm taking the Roadrunners. Meet.
I love the meet.
also have to go with the Roadrunners. I think that just the offense is Army's defense isn't terrible, but it's just not. It's not going to be up to par when the Roadrunners are literally run it down. So, yeah, take me for the Roadrunners.
All right. I'm also going to go with UTSA here, and my reasoning is I just don't think Army is enough of a two-dimensional team. I still think they're way too heavy on the run. I like what I saw out of them, though. I really like their heart, but ultimately, I just don't think they have the tools to keep UTSA, on their toes enough in this ball game. And I think Harris for UTSA is a pretty, I guess you would call it a standard quarterback for UTSA because he's not the biggest in terms of stats or necessarily the best looking quarterback, but he does enough in the crucial moments to end up winning some games. So yeah, give me the Roadrunners, as Chooch put it, meet meet.
Man, are we on a
All right,
streak
moving
right now?
on.
Are we on a streak right now with agreeing with each other?
We are.
3 games in a row.
I think this is the first game we actually separate.
Well, maybe. I mean, Utah State and Air Force, these two teams have been known to cause some separation, at least in their conference. They have played almost eerily similar at times to where you think they're going up and then they fall to a team or a game that you did not expect. And then other times when they're sinking, they pull out a victory against someone that, again, you did not see coming. With that being said, Air Force is 2-0, and in 2 games, they've only given up 10 points. Meanwhile, their offense, they've been okay, nothing to really write home about, but they've done enough, obviously, to win. Utah State has had the better team when they have versed, though. They played Iowa week 1, and let's just say towards the end of that game, it was getting scary for some Iowa fans, but then Cade McNamara put it away. Ultimately, Vegas says Air Force is a 10-point favorite at home. They shouldn't have too much of an issue against this Utah State team. According to ESPN, though, it is pretty close. 55% like Air Force, 45% like Utah State. Chooch, in this split house, where are you going?
I don't know why 55% are preferring Air Force. I mean, who have they played? They played Robert Morris week 1 and won by 35. And then they played Sam Houston. I mean, Sam Houston's good, but like, come on, y'all. I mean, and Utah State, listen, they didn't look bad against Iowa. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought they were going to have something there for a while. And then Iowa's just built different defensively. So I'm taking Utah State here. I think they learned a lot the first game, obviously, because they went out and did what they did to Idaho State. So winning by 50. So I'm going to take Utah State here. I think it's closer than people think it's going to be, but Utah State wins this one.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Utah State with one. Air Force, I don't see them playing as good as a game as people think they do. I'm surprised as well what Chooch said, how it's 55% people think Air Force is going to win. So I don't know why people are saying it. But yeah, I'm going to take Utah with this one. Put me with the 45.
All right. Well, you guys set me up perfectly for this one. Thank you. So to answer the question, I don't know why. Let me tell you why. It's that typical Air Force thing that, they start very good, 2-0. Obviously, you can't do better. You beat the teams that are in front of you. But it's the rushing yards and the way they can attack. It's not just 1 or 2 guys. They got like 8 of them who can run at will. And if that offense gets going, which I think it will, uh, they are going to give Utah State a handful in this game. Ultimately, I don't think 10 is a realistic line for this game. I think Air Force wins this one on a field goal. So give me the Falcons. They will fly in this one and go into the Wild Low Niner with a victory. Moving on to a fun one in the Big Ten, the Penn State Nittany Lions, undefeated, and let's say they've done pretty good while being undefeated. They ended up beating West Virginia pretty convincingly week one to the dismay of me because I picked against them, and they took care of business last week against Delaware, and they really didn't have much trouble against Delaware. Illinois, on the other hand, it's not been the best start to the season. They did beat Toledo, but they only beat them by 2. And last week on the Thursday game, they played Illinois, or they didn't play themselves. They played Kansas, and at halftime they did not score very much. It was 24-7 at half. But then eventually they rallied around it and they tried to make a difference, but ultimately Kansas's team was just too much there. So I ask you this question, Chooch, since we're starting with you. Are you afraid of this Illini team? Because you know what they say about two things. A team who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous. And the second thing is a team that never says die, is never out of a football game. I leave you with those. What do you say?
So I'm going to start off by saying, listen, folks, you're all excited about Penn State. Cool, they beat West Virginia, but then they beat Delaware, and they honestly didn't look all super impressive against Delaware either. Delaware did a lot of shooting themselves in the foot in that game. I'm not saying Penn State wouldn't have won, but and then listen here, Illinois, either you got to be good, or you got to be bad. You can't be both. I mean, you can, but it's frowned upon. It's fans would prefer either misery or happiness, not both. As much as I want to pick the Fighting Illini, and I want to be with you, I want to be with your opening point on this one. I don't have faith in Illinois' defense to stop Penn State's offense. I think Penn State plays to the level of their opponents for the first half, and then decides, hey, we can play actual Penn State football in the second half. So, yeah, Penn State.
All right, I am going Penn State as well. I do want to go with Illinois. I'm not much of a big fan of Penn State, especially since so many people are thinking Michigan will lose to them, but we'll see. A lot more people think that than I took credit for, but yeah, I think Penn State's gonna absolutely destroy Illinois.
Wow, destroy Illinois. I like that. Man, I'm at a crossroads here because I'm with Jacob. I'm sorry, Penn State. I don't know what it is about you guys that I really don't like. But I just don't like y'all. I really don't. It's probably something to do with James Franklin always choking in big games, but that's neither here nor there. I think ultimately Illinois is going to show up and Bielema's going to have them ready. They're going to fight in this game, but Penn State's just got too much talent to lose this football game. As much as I don't like to say it, Penn State is who I'm going with. Plus, they proved me wrong once this year, and I'm not getting fooled the second time. So yeah, give me the Nittany Lions on the road. All right, next game here we got a interesting matchup as the Big 12 teams at one point used to verse quite a lot. However, now the scene has changed a little bit and it's Big 12 versus SEC. Kansas State goes on the road to Missouri, and let's just say Kansas State, they've looked pretty impressive. 305 passing yards in the last two games, 187 rushing yards. That's pretty good balance. And this defense, it does not struggle against the run. They've only given up 38 rushing yards. and that's their average. 38 out of 2 games. To say physical defense is an understatement. Ultimately, in this one, Kansas State is only a 5-point favorite on the road. Chooch, what do you think about this?
Listen, you're walking into Missouri. Decently tough place to play, but this Kansas State team is a battle-tested squad. They're a well-coached team. And what we're seeing right now is a program finally putting its big boy pants on and deciding they want to play actual football for the first month of the year and continue what they do through the second half of the year into the first month from now on. So I think we're starting to see this power grab. We've mentioned a lot last year in the Big 12. I think we're starting to see it slide its way down to Kansas State. I think Kansas State edges this one out, though, against Missouri. Some crazy, wacky play happens, but Kansas State will win this one somehow, some way. Just how it's going to fall. Wildcats over the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm also going to be taking the Wildcats. I think, you know, when the term like, oh, defense wins games, that like 98% of the time goes to the pros, like talks about mainly like the NFL.
Right.
Not much about college for like defense winning games, but I think this game especially does. Not only defense winning games, but you know, last 2 games it scored over 40 points, which is, you know, crazy. So yeah, I'm taking Kansas State with this one, and I think it should be way more than 40. And you said a 5-point favorite. I think it should be way
5
more
point.
than
Wow. All right, so we got 2 Wildcats. I'm going to go the opposite side of the ball. Now, keep this in mind, folks. Last week, I picked Troy to beat Kansas State. That did not go very well. The reason why I'm picking Missouri this time, you think I would, learn my lesson, but this intrigues me. Missouri, they're incredibly well balanced. They're at home, and their defense, they're not too bad either. They have not given up more than 20 points in a game yet this year. Granted, they have not played the best opponents. I get that. But still, that's not a terrible feat. And at the end of the day, I really like Eli Derkowitz. I think he's done a tremendous job with this program. And I think this is a huge win for him and his program. And, watch out for Missouri, especially in the East. They have not gotten talked about virtually by anybody. So I think this win here gets them in the conversation of, hey, maybe they play Georgia tough. Maybe they end up beating Georgia and making it to Atlanta. That's kind of the wish at this point. But if they win this game, look out for that matchup. All right, next one here. We got a battle in the ACC. The Florida State Seminoles, who have been on fire as of late. This team has really rallied around Mike Norvell's war cry, and he has this program going up and up and up. However, there is a history of teams that dominate early in the year. They come to a game like this, they call them trap games, and they don't play their best. Maybe they're looking past Boston College. It's an 11 o'clock early kickoff. BC has an arena that could almost lullaby you to sleep sometimes. And occasionally, a game like this gets an upset alert. However, the people in Vegas, they say Florida State's a 26-point favorite. This game's not going to be a contest. I advise you both be careful when picking this game. Chooch, where are you going?
So both teams' defenses are about the same here with how they allow you on the field longer than you should be. But I think Boston College has a habit of falling short in these games recently. Florida State's playing out of their mind, and I mean, I don't even know what to say about this team except for they're uberly talented. They're fun to watch. They were fun to watch the end of the year last year. So, part of me wants to take the Golden Eagles here because, like you said, Cole, there's just something about these types of games, teams like this want to lose. But I think Florida State's for real. Maybe they heard us at the beginning of the year, and maybe they heard you saying they could be ACC champions. So Florida State here, they're looking for their first playoff berth.
Second.
Second? Yeah, sorry, second.
All good.
Well, they haven't been relevant, so I lost track. Sorry.
That's so true.
Yeah,
What about you, Jacob?
I'm gonna take Florida State as well. I think there's a correlation when quarterbacks are seniors and then they want to like get that extra boost and making an impact on their drafting ranks for pro. So I think Jordan Travis, he's doing pretty well right now, 6 TDs and only 1 pick of the year. So I think he wants to sort of boost his stats up by a lot going into this. And yeah, I agree that this is really pretty fun team to watch, especially week 1. It was pretty fun to watch. So
hate you.
Yeah.
I mean, he could go home.
Yeah. I'm taking Florida State.
Oh man. Man, this game's tougher than it looks. Believe me, I know. Some of you might be watching at home, going, "Florida State's gonna kill them. It's BC. BC's terrible." Believe me, I get it. But there's something about these early games, and it might show up, on Saturday too. It very well could. I think Florida State ultimately wins this game, but I do think that it's going to be a lot closer. People at halftime might start getting a little worried, going, man, I told you Florida State was overrated. They had, they came up and they played well in 2 weeks. I could see this at a half realistically being something, like 10-10 maybe. But then I think Florida State pulls away, and I think Trey Benson in that physical Florida State offensive line is the difference in this game. I know everybody talks about Jordan Travis, and hey, I like him too. He's a really great quarterback, but I think Trey Benson does not get enough credit for what he provides to this offense. And I think this game is going to be a marquee game in terms of getting him noticed by people. So give me the Nolan one. All right, next one here we got the Liberty Flames, a trend, as I always like to mention, that grew with the show, Liberty Magic. And when Hugh Freeze was over there, he pulled out some stunning victories that really gave some traction with that phrase as they take on, the Buffalo Beer. Wow, excuse me. I want to say Buffalo Bills.
You got that perfect.
No, just replace the vowels. That's all.
Yeah, relatively we're the same. But a miracle's not going to happen here for Liberty. They're actually the favored team in this game by 3.5. But there's a lot of respect going around for Buffalo. People see they're not just a walk in the park. They gave Wisconsin a very tough game. They barely lost to Fordham a week ago. And let's just say Liberty, they haven't looked very impressive themselves. They only beat Bowling Green by 10. New Mexico State hung in a little bit against them before they inevitably ended up pulling away in that game. This game's a lot closer than it shows on paper. Chooch, where are you going?
Offensively, this is going to be whose quarterback takes care of the ball better. This Snyder kid from Buffalo really, really takes care of the ball. He can sling it. I don't know if you watched that game week 1, but this kid can throw the football real well. He makes smart decisions, real good reads. And Salter, I mean, he's coming up. He's letting the world know, hey, man, I'm pretty good in my own right here. And the run game's eerily similar to each other. But this comes down to Buffalo's front 7 versus Liberty's secondary. I think that's what it comes down to. Who makes an impact on the game quicker? I think Liberty wins this one. I don't think Buffalo can close out the close games quite yet. I think there's something there that they're just not able to close it out. But I'm taking Liberty in a close one.
All right, going with the Flames. What about you, Jacob.
I will also be taking Liberty. I think it will be close, but I won't say like a field goal close or even a safety. It'll probably be a touchdown, like with a 4 point game. I think
4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a strange strange lead. Yeah, I don't see Liberty losing this one.
Well, Chooch kind of stole my thunder a little bit here. But I do want to bring up this fact. Both quarterbacks have been incredibly efficient. Neither quarterback has thrown a pick yet. That's how just insane both of these two teams are. And again, neither team really getting a lot of recognition. We're giving you recognition because we see you. I think this is going to be a fight. I think it's going to be physical, but I can't pick against the trend. Give me Liberty because the trend and the secondary is going to be just enough to end up edging out Buffalo here. Feel free to comment when this backfires and Buffalo wins. All right, next game here we got the Louisville Cardinals, which let's just say for Jeff Brom, he's liking the start. Obviously, the first game was very rocky against the Yellow Jackets, but then they pulled it together, and last week was just kind of what the doctor ordered. They looked in form, and they absolutely destroyed Murray State. On the other hand, for Indiana, kind of the same thing in terms of what happened week 2. They bounced back after the loss from Ohio State, and they destroyed the Sycamores from Indiana State. Ultimately, Louisville's a 10-point road favorite. Not a lot of respect for the hometown Hoosiers. Chooch, I know you've watched these two teams, and you've seen as much as I have about the improvements from both of these teams from a year ago. Who gets this win?
Yeah, listen. I want to say Indiana because of their defense, but Louisville's offense is just way too explosive and way too fun to watch. Plummer is murdering it right now as quarterback, and he is using every weapon he's got to his advantage. Listen, Louisville's another fun, explosive offense to watch, so taking the Cardinals.
I'll say the Cardinals. I think Plummer he's a great quarterback, but also the defense can step up a lot in this game. Like last week, 56-0.
Yeah.
Come on, how can I not take Louisville? And yeah, I think it should be more favorable, bigger point in favorite.
All right, going with the Cards. Man, if Indiana had one quarterback, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you've watched this team, they've been using 2 on different drives and really trying to get a feel for who suits this offense best. If they had just one and they decided, this is our guy, we're sticking with it, I would pick Indiana, but they didn't. So I'm gonna go with Brom in Louisville here. And how can you not love Brom? I mean, he comes over to this team that was, had one of the worst bowl game showings, and he's like, all right, we got you. They have a bad week 1. He's like, all right, we're gonna stick the course. We're gonna end up pulling out this win, and they did. And then, like Jacob just mentioned there with Murray State, like, okay, unleash, and they drop 56. Like, I think they're still in that attack mode, and I think Louisville wins this game. I'm not going to say handily. It's going to be kind of your typical brawl. It's going to be, defenses making a lot of good plays, but ultimately Louisville just does enough to get a win here on the road. All right, moving on to our first of 2 SEC games. The South Carolina Gamecocks come into Athens to take on the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. And South Carolina, it's not the start that they wanted. at all. It has been down for Shane Beamer and the boys, obviously losing in the Battle of Carolina, and then in the first half, struggling against Furman, but ultimately Spencer Rattler woke the guys up, and they were able to do enough to beat Furman, and pretty handily, might I add. Georgia, on the other hand, they've been the victims to slow starts these last two games. They haven't been the typical dominant Georgia, at least yet. The defense has done their part. The offense with Mike Bobo, it has not set in yet. So, Chooch, I know, sometimes we've done crazy things on the show. I know you like Beamer. Could this be the time where Shane Beamer pulls a Tennessee upset?
See, I'd say if it was downpouring or if it was later in the season, maybe. But it's early in the season. Georgia's going to do their thing. Spencer Rattler's not good beginning half of the season. Actually, matter of fact, Spencer Rattler's not good in general, but whatever, just overhyped trash. So I'm taking the Bulldogs here. I think they're going to thrash these cocks.
All right. I didn't expect to hear that. So, I mean, it's Georgia. Like, do I even need like anything else to say? It's Georgia. They're gonna decimate. That's all I'm gonna say. They're gonna decimate. That's all I need to say.
All right. So you're still rocking that dogs by 100 energy.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna go with you guys because, ultimately Shane Beamer, he's the right guy for this South Carolina job, right? He's getting this place to believe in football again, but you're versing somebody who's established and back-to-back national champs, haven't lost a game since the Alabama SEC title game. Yeah, I mean, and it's in Georgia. If this was in South Carolina, I might, hesitate because, Carson Beck in this offense, like I said, Mike Bobo, it's just not look like typical Georgia, but ultimately, just get Brock Bowers involved. He'll carry you through this game. Georgia does enough, and they end up winning this game by 20 plus.
It's still Georgia.
Yeah.
Like what I said with Alabama, the previous episode, they grow up on football. Like their dad is a football. They're teachers with footballs. They ate footballs for breakfast that morning before they just decimated South Carolina. So
I love that. Yeah, in the deep South, football is almost like a religion, if you will. So, yeah, if you are kind of shocked that the SEC just dominates football, there really is no point of being shocked.
right.
Speaking of the SEC, let's get into game 2 of 2 of the SEC. We got the Fighting Tigers of LSU starting 1-1, going on the road to Stark Vegas, where Mississippi State, on the other hand, they're 2-0, and they've looked pretty good while doing it. Except for, last week, obviously, the scare from Arizona, but they found a way to right the ship and win in overtime. And that's, at the end of the day, is what matters. Now, a lot of people really aren't fazed by this Mississippi State threat in the LSU starting slow. They still say LSU's a 9.5-point favorite, despite all of that. However, keep this in mind. LSU's record versus a quarterback that came back so far is 0-1. And that was against Jordan Travis in Florida State. Will Rogers and this Mississippi State team, they remember a year ago to where they failed in Death Valley, and they would love nothing more than to knock off LSU and get vengeance for a year ago. Juge, where you rocking?
This rivalry might have been close recently in terms of back and forth ish, but all time LSU leads this for a reason because we're a better football program. We come out more prepared, and we find a way to win these games. Whether we should or shouldn't is besides the point. we find a way to beat Miss State. I think this year is a find a way to beat Miss State year, and I think we just went out. I think we struggle a little bit in the first half. I think Mississippi State comes out throwing punches, but I think Brian Kelly and the boys wake up and they do what they started to do last year and wake up at this time and go, okay, football time, we gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. It's a shame it takes a week one loss, but
Right, going with the Road Tigers. What about you, Jacob?
Go Tigers. Yeah, I have to take LSU on this one. I think after the first week, that abysmal performance in Florida State, they really got their act together, and I'm really struggling. They got their act together, and they know how to play. They know how to play football again. So, go Tigers.
It sounds better with the voice too. You
Go
sound more
Tigers.
like
Go Tigers.
Oh man. And I hate to say this phrase when it comes to LSU, but this is a game I went back and forth on. I legitimately, coming up to this point, I knew who I was going to pick, but I did have a little back and forth just because week one is still fresh in my mind. Like, that was unexcusable and terrible. My main question for this game, I mean, I have the utmost respect for Will Rogers. I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks that doesn't get talked about enough. And I think Marks is also a really good running back. So they have, a pretty good balance now that they're not throwing the ball like 95 times per game. Under, Leach, they always used to do that. So I don't know. They're going to challenge this LSU team, and they're going to, per se, challenge the defense, which has been the real rough part of LSU. But ultimately, like Chooch was saying, we find ways to beat Miss State. And I don't think that part changes. I think this game is going to be, not pretty scoreboard wise or what you would want to see LSU wise, but the Tigers find a way to pull it out in Stark Vegas. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got the San Diego State Aztecs taking on the Oregon State Beavers. This game, kind of interesting because it is not the same San Diego State team we're used to. We're used to seeing, a dominant rushing attack, really great defense, and that's kind of them. But they've been more balanced the last few weeks. They actually are developing a passing attack, but the defense part stays. They've been very good for the most part defensively, minus of course the UCLA game. Oregon State, on the other hand, they're about what you'd expect, except DJ Ugandale is starting to play really good quarterback for them and really open up that airway. Chooch, where are you going with this one?
Like you said, listen, San Diego State used to be a really, really tough program for a school like Oregon State, but Oregon State's taking a step, and I think Uagalele. No, what's Uagale?
Ugandale.
Is it really Ugandale?
That's what they always say on TV, at least.
Man, I don't see an N. All right, well, the TV broadcasters are stupid. Anyways, they're going to take DJU. Oregon State's going to win this one. I just think they're more talented than San Diego State. I know they haven't really played anyone, but we'll see. San Diego State keeps this one closer than people think, but at the end of the day, Beavs win it.
Jacob.
I want to take Oregon State with this one. I think this defense is incredible, and this is the second time I'll be saying this, but I think the defense is going to win this one. And then again, they also, last game they scored 55, and then week one they scored 42. So I think it's not going to be a close one.
All right. I'm gonna go Oregon State too. And normally, when you pick Oregon State, you go, yeah, the run game, yeah, the defense. I'm gonna say, yeah, the passing game is the reason. I really don't know what happened with DJ Ugandale, but let's just say he woke up and he's like, oh, I can throw the ball good. And it's like, where was this at Clemson? But the change of scenery has done him great, and honestly, I think it continues. Give me Beeves in this one, and I'm not going to say a full blowout, but I don't think it'll be all that close, so somewhere around the 15-point range. All right, next one here, we got a Big Ten versus ACC matchup as the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who are undefeated, by the way, might I add. They've been a little tricky golfer to beat. Shows up and takes on the Tar Heels, who have been looking about how you'd expect with a pretty good quarterback in Drake May. However, they got scared last week against Appalachian State. It went to 2 overtimes. But I mean, to be fair, that is kind of the App State claim to fame. Show up for a game that you kind of expect at this point, but you didn't, that far back ago, and give a ranked team a heart attack. With all that being considered, UNC's an 8-point game here, Chooch. Do you think UNC's still shaken up from that App State game and maybe an upset for the Golfers?
Maybe an upset for the Gophers. I don't think North Carolina's shaken. Yeah, their defense is still as porous as it's ever been, but I think their offense is going to be trouble for this Minnesota defense because we've seen in the past Minnesota's defense can't stop a solid passing attack. So Tar Heels win this one.
I'm gonna be going UNC. I can't talk at all. I'm gonna go UNC with this one. I just think that whenever they need to play good football, that's when they step up the most. That's when they start making really smart decisions and plays. And I think that's what will beat these stupid Gophers or whatever they are.
I love that. These stupid golfers. I'm gonna go with UNC as well. Hear me out. Last week I made the mistake of picking Nebraska in a game that was like very almost eerily similar to this. Like Colorado could put up a lot of points. Nobody knew, how good their defense was. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go with Nebraska because I think the defense can hold and do enough to get the offense to win. That did not work out, mind you. So this time I'm learning from my mistakes, and I'm going with the Tar Heels, the explosive offense that is going to shoot the Golfers out of the water here. Give me the Tar Heels.
You say the Golfers or the Gophers?
Gopher. I did say Golfers.
What does Golfers do to you?
They should change their name just because of that. Free advertisement, boys.
Have the Gopher hold the golf club.
Yes.
It's a Gopher.
Golfer. It's funny. All right, next one here. We got Virginia Tech, which, man, it was a unpleasant ride against the Purdue Boilermakers as they lost a heart pounder to Purdue 24-17. For the most part, though, they looked good. Grant Wells did his thing and kept them fighting in the game. The defense made some pretty nice stops to give them a chance, but ultimately they just could not piece it together quick enough. And as for Rutgers, hear this because it might not be said again. They're undefeated. Round of applause for the Scarlet Knights. Ultimately, Vegas says Rutgers is a 7-point favorite. It is at their home. It's in the 2:30 slot. Chooch, where are you leaning with this one?
Listen, Rutgers has had this habit the last couple of years of starting off undefeated, then actually falling apart. I think they fall apart earlier than expected, and Virginia Tech is one that hasn't lost a game in this series since 1933. Last time these two teams played was 2012. So I'm taking the Hokies here. I think it's a little bit closer than people think, but I'm taking the Hoks.
Yeah, I'm taking VT. I'm gonna go with the upset here. I just think this receiving core over and Virginia Tech is pretty impressive. Also, just Grant Wells also being a pretty solid quarterback as well. 5 TDs, 2 interceptions isn't the greatest, but I think with this receiving core is going to help out this team a lot. So yeah, go VT.
Folks, even with little voice, he still steals my ideas. Even with little voice, you know what? Next time he's just gonna be muted, and that way, can he still steal my ideas? Then I don't know.
I can type.
That's true. I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech as well because, like he was saying, Grant Wells. I love this kid. I think he's gonna be, in the draft at some point, and he's gonna be that third or fourth round quarterback that there some team just kind of gambles on. They're like, okay, if it hits, great. If it doesn't, oh well. And he's gonna be that guy, kind of almost the Brock Purdy position, just a little bit above in the draft. Yeah, Grant Wells in this air attack is too much for Rutgers.
Let's be honest.
All right.
We're not going to see another Brock Purdy like that. We're not going to see another
No.
thing like that.
No, not anytime soon.
Maybe like
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of a franchise that is not irrelevant in terms of the college football arc, Western Kentucky takes on the Ohio State Buckeyes. I know Jacob just sighed a little bit there. He's like, oh gosh, we got to talk about these guys.
I mean, we got that poverty Michigan team in 2 turns, so.
Oh, no.
Poverty. Okay.
But talking about this game here, fellas, Western Kentucky and Ohio State, they have almost eerily similar quarterback plays in terms of efficient offenses. Western Kentucky's their big thing is throwing the ball. Ohio State's big thing is throwing the ball, except they're a little bit more balanced. Let's just say this game is projected for quite a bit of points. The over-under is 64. Not a lot of faith in either defense. All that being considered, Ohio State is a 29-point favorite at home. Chooch, you get the first crack at this one.
I think Western Kentucky's passing game is actually going to give this Ohio State secondary some fits, and I think it's going to keep Ohio State honest for a while. But at the end of the day, Ohio State's going to edge this one out. Buckeyes take it.
All right.
I'm going with. I'm going Western Kentucky. Obviously, the fact that Austin Reed doesn't have his picture on ESPN sickens me. Yeah, I think Austin Reed is going to absolutely blitz this Ohio State horrible defense, and I hope Austin Reed absolutely decimates Ohio State in every way, shape, or form. Blowout against Ohio State. I'm predicting.
Oh. Wow.
Go Blue.
I'm telling you, folks, I think the day that he's going to pick Ohio State on one of these shows is like a day where just nothing's going to make sense. Man, that's true hatred right there.
I like the little red grimace that Austin Western. I like the Hilltopper.
That's the Hilltopper.
Yeah, but he looks like a red grimace. So I like
I'm gonna go with Ohio State here. I'm sorry.
You're gonna have to agree with me one day. You're gonna have to agree with me that they'll lose.
I'm sorry, Red Grimace. I'm gonna go Ohio State though. I just think they have too much talent and too much balance for Western Kentucky, and I think their defense does enough to win this game. I don't think they'll cover the 29 because that's pretty high, but yeah, I ultimately think Ohio State's just you can't pick against that firepower, especially against Marvin Harrison Jr. So
Yes, I
yeah.
can. You just watch me.
All right, moving on to the next one here. We got a Pac 12 versus Big Ten showdown. The Washington Huskies come in undefeated, ranked number 8 in the world, and for good reason. They are a very pass heavy team. Michael Penix Jr. already has 859 passing yards. And meanwhile, their running attack less than 100 yards up to this point. Michigan State, on the other hand, it's been rough for Sparty.
Yeah.
I mean, they've won, but they have not looked in the way that you'd be hoping under Mel Tucker. With all that being said, they are 2-0. Chooch, maybe a Sparty upset at home? What do you say?
Cole.
Yeah.
Who did they play the first 2 games of the year to be 2-0?
Central Michigan
And
and Richmond.
Richmond. Meanwhile, Washington's been over here playing Boise State and Boise. I got to say it right for the people in Idaho. They're going to kill us if we don't say it right. It's Boise. Boise State. And I mean, they played Tulsa. They won that one by a lot. And listen, Washington's if this game's even close, Washington needs to reevaluate themselves. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Penix has an incredible arm. And I hope Michigan State gets exposed for the frauds they are, and Michigan State fans can stop saying that they have a good coach, because you don't. Washington's going to prove that this weekend. Go Huskies.
Sounded like me right there, talking crap about Michigan State. Yeah, I'm taking Washington with this one, especially with all the controversy surrounding their coach. I don't think Michigan State's in the right mindset right now to be, winning games, especially against competition like Washington. So, yeah, Washington.
Good pick. I'm going with you guys. Washington dominates Michigan State. Dominates this game, like Chooch was saying. It's not going to be close. I fully expect Washington to be up at one point in this game by 45 plus. Yeah, give me Penix, give me those great wideouts, give me this defense. Mel Tucker, you are the biggest fraud in college coaching today. So, yeah, give me Washington big. That one was a little personal, not going to lie. All right, moving on to Jacob's favorite team this time.
Obviously.
The Bowling Green Falcons roll into town to take on the Michigan Wolverines. Not too much of an elaboration on this game. All you need to know is Michigan is number 2, and they have played like it. They haven't really been, quote unquote, blowing teams out, but they have won, dominated, and then just said, we're not going to embarrass you. We'll just kind of run the clock. So, with all that being considered, is anybody taking this upset potential here with Bowling Green? Chooch, what do you say?
So if I use Pease's logic here, I'm going to take Bowling Green and bring the upset bell. But
What?
I'm going to use actual logic here and pick Michigan, because they haven't played anyone yet, and Bowling Green's the equivalent of no one. So Wolverines.
All right. Jacob?
Man, I don't know on this one. I'm really at a loss for who to pick. Obviously, Michigan. Come on now. Not just that Bowling Green is, again, a nobody team, but also it's at home, which I'm excited for. The big house is going to be filled up to watch Blake Corum get, just Blake Corum ram down defenses' throats. So, yeah, go blue.
Hey, there we go. Bowling Green upset.
No.
Get your cameras out.
pull the
No, I'm
knife.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You
yeah,
tell him, Cole.
Willingly, I'm saying Michigan wins this game. It's not going to be close. Sorry to any Bowling Green fan that was like, "Hey guys, maybe." No, you
There are
guys are
Bowling
going to
Green
get after.
fans?
Oh yeah, I've seen a few of them.
Yeah, that's the only thing in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Oh, of course.
Or
it's
Indiana,
So
whatever it is.
you just had to bring up that it was in Ohio.
Well, yeah. Who else are they going to play? They're going to play at the Midwestern School for the Blind, or they're going to play Bowling Green. So obviously, they're going to take the easier of the two opponents. It's a Big Ten
Yeah.
school. Come on, folks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Michigan across the board. If Michigan loses, let's just say it would be a tragic day for Blue fans. Jacob might not show his face for a little bit. Moving on to the next one here, and speaking of tragic, the Florida Gators have had quite the tragic season so far. Yes, they technically rebounded against McNeese State, but that first week against Utah, it's like you had chances to beat Utah and you just didn't put it all together. With that being said, though, Tennessee, on the flip side, they looked incredible week one against Virginia, and then kind of had a weird showing against Austin Peay last week. It was a little bit slower, but then the wheels started churning for Tennessee. But something to keep in mind about this game, Tennessee has not won in the swamp in 20 years. Their last time winning there was 1971. And if you're thinking about the math, you go, okay, you said 20. They alternate when the location is played, so that's why realistically, if you go 20 years, obviously that wouldn't add up. But when you look at the times that they switch, that's why. Ultimately, Tennessee needs this victory to get over the psychological edge that Florida holds in the swamp. Chooch, will they do it?
So a part of me really wants to say no here, and that the swamp's going to do swampy things, and Florida's going to come out and chomp on some volunteer legs. But hey, Graham Burts has more passing yards than Milton, by the way. I just want to point that out there. But they also, yeah. But no, listen, I'm going to take Tennessee here. I think their coach, Better Heupel's got these boys rolling. They're ready to go. I'm taking the Vols, man. Be wrong to pick against them. Taking the Vols.
Yeah, I'm also gonna take Tennessee. I think the stars are aligning for the first time Tennessee will win in 20 years, like Cole said. I think this is a perfect opportunity for because this is when Florida isn't the greatest at the moment. So yeah, I'm going with the big old T.
And this is motivation for Sunbelt Billy right now. He's like, the whole world picks against us. Nobody has faith in us. And I'm gonna add on to that number of people who do not have faith in Sunbelt Billy because let's set the record to rest here. Tennessee explodes that record. I think Florida will play close for a quarter, but ultimately Josh Heupel has got these guys in such a positive direction that I don't think it matters. So give me the Vols. All right, next game here featuring another SEC team as the Ole Miss Rebels host the Yellow Jackets from Georgia Tech. And let's just say when this game gets talked about normally, anybody goes, well, Georgia Tech's not very good. There's not a lot of hope for the Yellow Jackets. But be advised, this Georgia Tech team, they have a new sense with Brent Key, their new head coach. He has brought a hope back into this program, and Georgia Tech faithful are finally starting to see at least a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel for the Yellow Jackets to get back to being a contender in the ACC. Ultimately, though, Ole Miss is a heavy, heavy favorite in this game. 18-point favorite, and a lot of people are just saying Ole Miss is going to run away with that prolific offense. Chooch, are you gonna give the Yellow Jackets a shot?
So if you guys watched that Tulane game last week, I had the pleasure of watching it for Cole and I.
Yes.
Ole Miss, either Tulane's as good as we think it is, or Ole Miss isn't as good as we think they are. That's what I'm going to say on that one. With that being said, Georgia Tech could give this Ole Miss Rebels team a a bit of a fight here. So, but I think Ole Miss's offense and environment, 7:30 at night, playing in Walt Hemingway Stadium. I gotta go with the Rebs, man.
All right, going with the Rebels. Jacob.
I'm going a little Ole Miss over there. I'm going to take the Rebels as well. I just think from what we've seen from them so far, especially that Tulane win, I think we are pretty much underestimating them by a lot, and I think we're gonna see that a lot in this Georgia Tech game.
All right, going with the Rebs at home. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss too. I just think that offense is too huge at this point for Georgia Tech. So that's kind of the reason. It's nothing personal, Georgia Tech. I really like where you guys are going with Key, but you're just not where you need to be in order to win a game like this. So yeah, give me the Rebs. So I do want to make a correction on the Tennessee-Florida game because it sounded out of pocket when I said that, and it was. I was looking at the wrong piece. The last time that Tennessee beat Florida in the swamp was 03. My mistake on that, not 1971. My bad.
Yeah, it's 20 years exactly then.
Yeah, I thought it was because of the alternating. It was not. Yeah, so we're clear on that. My mistake there, folks. All right, next game here, we got the BYU Cougars taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks. And let's just say Sam Pittman finally seems to be finding the groove with the Razorbacks from Arkansas. They've been looking good. They've been actually playing for each other, and they almost look back to form as they were in 2020. BYU, on the other hand, they've turned some heads. Not in the way of who they were playing, but just in the way they were playing. As their defense has given up 16 points in 2 games, and their offense, they've been pretty one-dimensional. It's been mainly that passing attack that has been the story for this BYU team. They're looking to pull a shock on the road and stun the Arkansas Progress. Arkansas is an 8-point favorite at home. Where are you going, Chooch?
See, a part of me really wants to take BYU here because, I mean, the Cougars winning in Arkansas would be amazing, right? But you're in Wally World's land, and them Razorbacks thrive off of Walmart. I'm just making things up here as I go. I'm just kidding. It's actually, the guy from Walmart actually went to school there. They got Walmart. Not school, but he's from there. Walmart, big thing. Yeah, anyways, Bentonville, Little Rock, whatever. Arkansas is going to come in here, and like Cole said, they look like them old 2020 selves. So I'm going to take the Razorbacks here to win this one, and I don't think it's close. I think BYU's shocked at what Arkansas comes out and does. KJ's looking like KJ again. So, backs. Woo pig suey.
I'm going to go with the Razorbacks as well. I just think their offense looks unstoppable at the moment against WCU and Kent as well. I just think their offense is going to do a lot to help this team win. So yeah, I'm gonna go Arkansas here.
All right, going with the backs. I'm also going to go with Arkansas just because I think they're more balanced than BYU. Like I mentioned, BYU's whole offense is just really being able to throw the ball. Arkansas can do both and be dominating in both. So I think that's the difference, and I also really like this Arkansas defense. They almost like fly to the ball. So give me the backs over the Cougars in this one. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got the Syracuse. I almost said oranges. They're not the oranges, they're the orange.
Did that logo throw you off?
It did. I'm not used to seeing auto in the picture. I'm used to that block S. As they roll in and take on Purdue. And let's just say both of these teams, they have an explosive offense when they want to. Because Purdue, they can sling it around and they can run it hard. Hudson Card has been looking like his former self. If you watched him at Texas, you know what I'm talking about. And as for Syracuse, they've just been sharing the love. There's not really one player that's been, standing out for them. It's just everybody. They've been working in a unison in that ACC area. So, Chooch, I know obviously you like Syracuse, but are you going to go with the Cuse?
So these are two teams that you could say are mirror images of each other at times. They both can have bad years, they both can have good years, and then they fall apart halfway through the year or at the end of the year, or they both can lose whatever game they want and win whatever game they want, right?
Agreed.
Well, I think this game you're going to see that whole story played out. Syracuse's high-octane offense against presumably a better Big Ten defense, because, let's be honest, who has Syracuse played where Purdue has had 2 straight tests. So, for that reason alone, I think Purdue wins this game. But if it were to come down to a shootout, I'm picking Syracuse here. I'm going to pick Syracuse. I'm going to pick Syracuse.
Going with the Cuse. All right. Yeah. Jacob?
All right. I'm going to pick Purdue with this one. Just because I think if it really comes down to it, I think Purdue will take it. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Purdue, I just think that at times they can be better than Syracuse when they really want it to happen.
All right, good pick going with Purdue. Man, this is like the first time in a while we've had a tiebreaker. This is unknown ground here. I'm going to go with Purdue just because, like Chooch was saying, they've been tested. Fresno State and Virginia Tech, and they've really had to just almost like in basketball, they call it like a heat check. You got to see what you have and how well you can execute. And I think Purdue is just more battle tested and ready. And I think Hudson Carr wins this QB duel, but it will be extremely close. All right, moving on to the next one, to two teams who absolutely cannot stand each other. Pitt and West Virginia in the backyard brawl is what they call this game. West Virginia's a 1-point favorite at home. Pitt letting the whole world down, it seemed, a week ago against Cincinnati. They were heavy favorites, and they just could not find a way to come up with wins when it mattered most. West Virginia, on the other hand, they had a huge victory over Duquesne, and it was kind of like, you're struggling, here's a cupcake. Do you feel better and ready to continue on this season and maybe show a shocker to people who have already given up on you? So this is a big telltale game for West Virginia and Pitt. Who gets this much needed win, Juge?
Oh man, I want to go Pitt because I just think they're they're a better put together team and they're a better coach team. But at the end of the day, this is in Morgantown. I'm taking this one from my buddy Bryn. Denham, this is for you. I'm taking the Mountaineers in a close one against the Pitt Panthers.
All right.
I'm going. I'm going Pitt just because I think their receiving core is really well, but I also think I love my tight ends. So Gavin Bartholomew doing amazing right now. 118 yards with 1 touchdown and 5 catches. An average of 23.6 yards for a junior tight end. So plus 6'5", 250 pounds, doing amazing right now. So I think he's going to be a big factor in this win over West Virginia.
All right. So count them, folks. We got two tiebreakers in a row. We were saving them for the end, just so you had to pay attention and see.
Were we?
Yes. So I'm gonna go with the Pitt Panthers, just because I have more faith in them right now. They have not, per se, broken my heart as bad as West Virginia. I wanted them so badly to beat Penn State, and they did. So I think Pitt, not to mention, I like their defense and I really like their run game. So I think at the end of the game, when everybody's tired and, you got to check again, what you have left in the tank for those like last 9 minutes. I think West Virginia is going to come up a little bit short and Pitt's going to be well prepared for the moment. All right, moving on to the next one here. Fresno State goes on the road to take on the Sun Devils from Arizona State. This game is a telltale for both of these teams. Fresno State obviously 2-0, their big win coming against Purdue in week 1. Arizona State, they barely got by against Southern Utah, and then last week they fought hard against Oklahoma State, but they just did not have the firepower to beat Oklahoma State. Not to mention they're on the bowl band, which I know a lot of people, especially the coach at Arizona State, goes, that's not affecting us. But it's hard to imagine that it's not in the back of these players' mind to where they're going, yeah, even if we do good, it's really not going to matter because of that, bowl ban. Chooch, where are you going in this one? Arizona State is a 3-point underdog in their own house.
I think 3 points is generous. I think Fresno State's going to come in here and handily do what they do against teams like this. They're going to handle their business and they're going to walk out unscathed. Listen, Fresno State's such a good team. Actually, Fresno State's such a good team that there's a gang that wears their logo. I'm just going to say it right now. That's how tough this team is. So I'm taking the Bulldogs over the Sun Devils.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bulldogs as well. I think Mikey Keene is having an amazing season right now, especially as a sophomore. He's not even a senior yet. He's already doing a great 599 yards with 6 TDs. The 2 picks is not great, but doing better than some pros. Some guy playing on the Buffalo Bills. Some doing better than that guy. So I think Mikey Keene can pull this one off and defeat Arizona State. And yeah, like Chute said, it's very generous. I think they're gonna manhandle ASU.
Oh, manhandle, all right.
Or bulldog handle, I should say.
Paw handle.
Paw handle, yeah.
I just first, before saying what I'm gonna say, I want to shout out Jaden Rashada, freshman at Arizona State, who's been really the only part of that team to where I was like, man, you're really onto something here. You might be really good in the future. So shout out to him. But this next part, he's not gonna like very much. Yeah, Fresno State, they win this game. I think they have a swagger about them almost that it's just like they see, the other team sees Fresno State coming and they just know that they're gonna get their ass kicked because, first off, that logo is terrifying. Whoever did that, great logo. And then on top of that, I really like how this defense has been playing at times. I know, you look at it and you go, okay, 364 yards, that's not necessarily great. but I think they get it together against the Sun Devils team, and especially the run defense. I don't think Arizona State's going to be able to run, and that's part of the reason why they lose. They're way too one-dimensional in that respect. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got Wyoming taking on the Texas Longhorns, and Texas fans may not want me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Texas is back.
Yeah.
Finally, after all these years, they get a solidifying win on the road in T-Town against the Crimson Tide of Alabama. And let's just say they've shut up a bunch of their doubters. Sarkisian got a marquee win over Nick Saban, which is something I did not think was possible. Texas is a 29.5 point favorite at DKR. This place is going to be rocking. They're excited to see their team. However, know in the back of your mind, Wyoming's not a bad team. They pulled off an upset against Texas Tech 2 weeks ago in double overtime. And when teams get a big win occasionally, they get a big head. And they sometimes have a tendency to go, oh, what's the next big game? That was an adrenaline rush. We want another one of those. Chooch, could this be the time to where Texas, in fact, is not back? They trolled their fan base again. Wyoming sneaks out of DKR with an upset. What do you say?
I'm going to say two names for you here. I'm going to say three. Sark, Quinn Ewers, and Xavier Worthy. You know what those three things have in common?
What's that?
They're going to beat the brakes off Wyoming. And Worthy and Ewers are an incredible tandem together. The chemistry's there. And listen, not Joe Burrow. Quinn Ewers is the first quarterback to win his debut in Tuscaloosa since the mighty Joe Burrow. So, Longhorn fans, be wary of these Cowboys, though. Good offense. Defense plays great at times. But, or are they going to keep your Longhorns off balance here? It's been a crazy 2 weeks. I'm taking the Longhorns. Hook 'em horns.
Yeah, I'm also gonna be taking Longhorns. They're doing amazing as the win last week against Bama. Quinn Ewers, I hope that's how you pronounce his name. He's doing amazing, and especially glad you didn't say him because I was gonna say him. Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, doing amazing right now. Has more touchdowns than Worthy too. By two. So I think those two key players, especially quarterback, obviously going to be a key player, but I think those guys are going to help out so much against this win. And yeah, Texas, it's not going to be close with this one.
Ooh, okay. So let's talk about Texas. Quinn Ewers. I mean, he's the man, right? 6 touchdowns, destruction, beating Alabama on the road. Sarkisian, I mean, this is big for him. Worthy, he's a worthy wide receiver because he's really good. And in the run game, I mean, it was okay. I mean, they up and manhandled the Crimson Tide. There's no way they could lose this game. Except for when they do. Because Wyoming is going to come in under the cover of night in DKR, and they're going to upset the Texas Longhorns. They're going to knock out the hype of this team again. Well, when I say again, I'm not saying Wyoming doing that, but I'm saying, this is part of the course for Texas. A lot of hype, and then boom, Mack truck meets them, and that Mack truck this time is going to be Wyoming. Wyoming. Almost messed up on the word there. All right, then moving on to the game that everybody's been waiting for, the TCU Horned Frogs take on the Houston Cougars. Both of these teams pretty electric, very good, and explosive when it comes to offense. The Horned Frogs, led by their quarterback, who originally won the job a year ago. A lot of people forget this. Chandler Morris, who has had over 500 yards. And Houston, on the other hand, in their passing attack, very similar. Donovan Smith, pretty good. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. But the story is this. They're both 1-1. Somebody needs this defining victory. Chooch, will it be the Horned Frogs, or will Houston continue in a good note in the Big 12?
So, I've been conflicted with this game since we made the schedule, right?
Yep.
So, for those of you who don't know, Cole and I usually sit down, pick the games, put them in Discord, which will be tagged in the description below. I don't know, because TCU has a habit of losing games they need to win, but Houston has a habit of winning these games too. But yeah, I've been conflicted all week. This one hurts me to do this one, but I'm taking the Horned Frogs here. I wanted to take Houston earlier in the week, as you guys know. I can't justify it after the double overtime loss to Rice. TCU learned their lesson against Colorado. Horned Frogs win this one. Also, Houston also hasn't beaten TCU since 1992, and the current win streak for the rivalry between these two teams is TCU at 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have to agree here. TCU. I think when week 1 came up and we seen Colorado, it's like, okay, new coach coming in for Colorado, they're gonna wipe them. Well, not wipe them, but TCU is gonna take this one, and then they lost. Like, man, are we? Is it either Denver was good, which they are, or TCU is just that one year where they were good. Then they put up 41 points, allowing 6 points against the Colonels. I was like, okay, they're actually pretty good now. So now we'd have the answer for sure, and TCU gonna come out on top here. I just think this team is too good to lose to Houston.
All right, going 2 in a row for the Horned Frogs. Oh, man. Like Cheech was saying, this is one of those games to where you look at it and you're like, man, where do you go with this game? But then last week happened, and Houston was struggling with Rice and ended up losing to Rice, ironically enough, which was just absolutely insane to say the least. Do I have the nerve to say it was a slip up and Houston's coming back and winning? No. I'm going to go with these guys. TCU wins, and this game is a huge victory for Sonny Dykes in terms of getting this team back on track and in contention for the Big 12 championship and maybe even a New Year's Six Bowl. I won't say natty, but I definitely will say, this team, they are talented. They could realistically be in a New Year's Six. And that road starts today. So give me the horn. All right, and that is going to do it for this show. Thank you all so much for coming. We always appreciate it. It really means so much that you guys tune in and watch and. I know, I saw that.
we can hear that.
Sorry.
So as I was saying, though, it really means a lot. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you all enjoy your college football Saturday. I know we all will. So let's end as we always do. God bless you all in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy your college football Saturday. Peace.
All right, we're JCP.